Okay, so here, let's take a quick look at what I made. First, I just mocked up a quick little track, a bunch of custom checkpoints with a few objects and some explosives, and an explosive, like a fireball effect. Um, so I put together a quick track with a few checkpoints, just so that we could test this out. Um, and then I have this force field is following the physics bubble. I just did that to help me visualize how it was moving while I was testing stuff out. And then finally, I have this dummy object is is like our big guy here. I'm gonna switch him to the game character at the end, um, and that's what's gonna move the physics bubble. Uh, So I have this dummy object following the rider's head for the whole race, but it doesn't necessarily need to because I'm doing something with the camera at the end that also involves this. I needed to follow the rider's head the whole time, but if you're not using the same camera thing that I'm using, you wouldn't necessarily need to bring that dummy object in until the end at the finish line. Um, so let's go take a look at the finish line. So here's what happens when he crosses the finish line. So the first two things we have here are go along with my custom checkpoint. It just changes the light and the color of the light. Um, and all of the checkpoints do that. That's what the ones you see at every checkpoint do. So the next one, I have this final checkpoint explodes as soon as you cross it. So I turn on the physics of all of these objects here, and then I also turn on this fire trail effect. Um, and the explosive that's down here is intersected with the ground, so it blows up as soon as the physics are activated on it. And then I also activate my custom camera here, which is set up here, and its follow target is this dummy object that we're going to animate later as well. Um, and then I turn, this is the game event, and I turn also that dummy object becomes the game character here, and that's the point where the physics bubble starts following the dummy object instead of the rider. Um, and then we have a little delay here before we get to the rest of that chain. I'll come down here. I have this area trigger, which is just into some boxes that the rider can run into at the end. So of course it turns the physics on there. But then this second state event turns off the this OPE that's animating the dummy object to the rider's head. So at that point, the dummy object isn't being animated anymore according to the rider's head's position. Uh, and then finally, I have an OPE here that takes the first point of my keyframe animation there and moves it to the point, the same point where that dummy object is. And so what that's going to do is make sure there's a smooth transition for my camera here. There's no kind of like jumping around when different OPEs take over. Um, so then what I have here is a little keyframe animation setup. It's a OPE to a curved vector data source, and then two object vector data sources, which are my start and end point for the object's position. Uh, so this one is the one that's being animated to the spot here. That's the start point. And then the end point down here is at our first checkpoint that's going to explode. Uh, so after a short delay here, after the finish, we activate uh, this first animation, which is the physics bubble. So we start animating the physics bubble to the checkpoint. Uh, I have a short delay there just so that it looks kind of cooler, and then I start the animation of the camera, which stays smooth all the way to the end. Um, and so then I got a long delay here, and once we're down here, the explosion goes off and the physics turn on for these objects. And then it's pretty much the same thing down the line. And then so like all of these impulse delays, it's just like that's going to be your timing between when the explosions go off and like where the camera is and where the physics bubble is. So we can just take a look at it here. So that force field is the physics bubble. And you can see there that it's now animating down, and now the camera's starting to follow. And I made the force that explosion a little too strong. It shoots that box out of the physics range. The same thing. And then of course I didn't finish the animation here, but now that point would move one more time down to this final checkpoint, and the final checkpoint would explode as well. And there you go. I hope that helps you out.